6 people were killed and 37 injured in a Ukrainian missile attack on Russia's Bryansk region, according to local authorities. The attack reportedly targeted a plant that produces electronic parts for various weapon systems and military equipment.
Цей завод робив електроніку, комплектуючі для російських ракет. Саме тих, які б'ють по наших містах, по наших селах, по цивільних. Ми захищаємось. Росія давно має змогу закінчити цю війну, яку сама ж і почала.
The Ukrainian military said it used British-made Storm Shadow cruise missiles to hit the target. Meanwhile, Russia launched over 100 drones at Ukraine overnight, targeting 4 cities and killing at least 4 people. A Russian strike killed at least 4 people in the eastern Ukrainian city of Sloviansk as Moscow continues its near-daily aerial attacks on civilian areas in Ukraine. Also, other cities were targeted, including Dnipro in central Ukraine, where a dozen people were injured.
Не вікон, не дверей.
Не пострадали самі?
Ні, бо я була в больниці. Я тільки прийшла з больниці. Ото мене зберегло. Все. Он осколок.
Ви хоч не тут були?
Що?
Ви тут були?
Да, тут була. Бачите, по голові вдарила.
The latest attack comes as Russian and Ukrainian officials both claim to have made frontline progress. Kyiv says it had pushed Moscow's forces back, while the Kremlin insists Russia is making progress. There was, however, no independent verification of either claim so far. It comes as U.S. broker talks between Russia and Ukraine are currently on hold, as Washington's attention is gripped by its war in Iran.
Differences in how you evaluate that, but the numbers.
United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told reporters on Tuesday that the will of the U.S. to fight Iran was endless, but he insisted the war won't be protracted. The day before, President Donald Trump said he expected the war to end very soon, but provided no timeline, contradicting an earlier statement it would last 4 to 5 weeks.
And from the beginning, from this podium, we haven't stated how long it will take. Our will is endless. Ultimately, the president gets to determine the end state of those objectives, right? But what he's said continually, and I want the American people to understand, is this is not endless, it's not protracted, we're not allowing mission creep.
In the meantime, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz shared concerns about an apparent lack of plans for the end of the war in Iran.
Die Vereinigten Staaten und Israel führen seit über einer Woche einen Krieg gegen den Iran. Viele dieser Ziele teilen wir. Doch mit jedem Kriegstag stellen sich mehr Fragen. Vor allem besorgt uns, dass es offensichtlich keinen gemeinsamen Plan gibt, wie dieser Krieg schnell zu einem überzeugenden Ende gebracht werden kann.
Americans are divided along party lines on U.S. military action against Iran, according to polls. Most polls show opposition is higher than support.
Anger is mounting among motorists in France over gasoline prices as the war in the Middle East and the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz take their toll on shipping. At many stations, the price per litre is approaching or exceeding €2, a sharp increase that is generating reactions in cities such as Paris and that is making daily life difficult for many.
Au moins 30 voire 40 centimes sur Paris, c'est affolant. Donc là, moi, je mets juste de quoi rentrer chez moi en banlieue et j'irai mettre le reste dans le Val d'Oise où j'habite, quoi.
In Marseille, many are finding the increase a hard pill to swallow, while some say this could offer a possible advantage.
Ça fait très mal au portefeuille, surtout qu'avec ça, je fais quoi? Je fais même pas 100 km. Donc oui, ça revient un petit budget. Mais bon, on n'a pas le choix.
Ben là, on va plus toucher la voiture bientôt. Hein. Comment faire? On va marcher à pied, ça va nous faire les muscles au mollet. No?
The escalating conflict with Iran has targeted the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important routes for global oil and gas shipments, and disrupted energy shipments, sending oil prices above $100 a barrel over the weekend.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has called Israel's new West Bank settlement initiative a big mistake, urging the Israeli government to halt what he described as annexation moves. The so-called E1 project was greenlit last August, paving the way for 3,400 housing units across a 12-square-kilometer area to the east of Jerusalem. Building on his past opposition to the settlements, Merz used his Berlin address to call for a joint European message on the subject. He confirmed that Foreign Minister Johann Wedtpool is to emphasize this stance during his visit to Israel. The plan has drawn widespread international condemnation, with the UN spokesman warning it poses an existential threat to a contiguous Palestinian state. An Israeli settlement watchdog has also denounced the recent publication of a construction tender for the E1 area. Driven by the approval of 19 new settlements in December 2025, Israeli expansion has reached its highest level since 2017, a surge that far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich openly stated is aimed at preventing a Palestinian state. Volkswagen has announced 50,000 job cuts in Germany by 2030 as the carmaker's profits fell by 44%, hitting their lowest level since 2016. Europe's largest automobile manufacturer had already struck a deal with unions in 2024 to cut 35,000 jobs within its main brand to save 15 billion euros a year. Additional cuts will now hit premium brands, including Audi and Porsche, as well as the company's software subsidiary, Cariad. Already struggling with stagnant demand in Europe, especially for electric cars, and cratering sales in China, the 10-brand group has also felt the severe effects of US tariffs on non-American car makers. Chinese electric rivals like BYD and Geely have created fierce competition for the German giant, both locally and internationally. Volkswagen's head of finance, Arno Antlitz, warned that further cost-cutting is essential to make the firm competitive again. For 2026, Volkswagen expects a core profit margin of between 4 and 5.5%, potentially even lower than the 4.6% it recently achieved. Fantasporto has returned to its home of recent years, the Bataha Cinema, for the 46th edition of what is Porto's biggest film festival and one of the biggest in Portugal. The festival has two major competitive sections, one dedicated to fantasy cinema and the other to auteur films of all genres, the Director's Week. In the fantasy film category, the first prize went to an Argentine film, Encantador, a classic horror movie with many scares that won over the jury.
It's quite a classic film for its genre, a murderer who's kidnapped some women, and then the story is quite well told and within a very impressive actor performance as well. I think the atmosphere and also the production design was very well done.
Greek director Vasilis Mazamenos, already an iconic figure at the festival, has presented almost all of his films and takes home the Critics Award with Endless Land, a tribute to rural life and the lost traditions of the deep countryside.
Η ταινία δεν είναι διαφορετική, η φόρμα της είναι διαφορετική. Οι ιδέες του μαζωμένου παραμένουν εκεί αναλύωτες. Πιστεύω ότι όσο και αν δεν φαίνεται με την πρώτη ματιά, ότι είναι μια πολιτική ταινία κι αυτή. Σε μια εποχή που ξαναζούμε τη φρίκη του πολέμου, η επιστροφή στις βασικές αρχές στον κύκλο της ζωής, αυτά που μας είχαν διδάξει οι προγονείς μας και τα έχουμε απολέσει, είναι το πιο σημαντικό πράγμα.
In Batalha, the seventh art joins the art of Júlio Pomar.
Atrás de mim podem ver os frescos que foram pintados nos anos 1940 por Júlio Pomar. Durante cerca de 75 anos, pensou-se que estivessem irremediavelmente perdidos, até que foram recuperados há poucos anos por uma equipa de restauro. Os frescos foram, na altura, mandados tapar pela polícia política do regime de Salazar. Este cenário, aqui no Cinema Batalha, um dos históricos cinemas da cidade do Porto, é também, desde 2023, o cenário do Fantasporto, o festival que encerrou agora a 46ª edição, ao premiar cinema de todo o mundo. Ricardo Figueira, Euronews, Porto.
Winnie the Pooh is that lovable everyman, right? We see the frustrations that he has waking up in the morning because we see that too. So he's a little bit of a mirror on all of us. He's lovable, he's affable, he's that kind-hearted, tubby little stuff full of pluff, that we all love to embrace and enjoy. And that's something that makes the character timeless, lovable, and just truly amazing.
Pooh definitely is a bringer of joy, and he's very, very calm. You never see Pooh get overly flustered. Even when he does get upset, there's a calmness to his demeanor, which I think most people really gravitate to.